last night was very strange.
Yeah.
And kind of sad.
It was very sad.
It was really sad. So my experience with the evening, and we'll tell y'all what happened. We were, we had there are no proms right now because of the pandemic, whatever. So the school decided to have like a senior night downtown. And we as businesses, they shut down the street. We put things out on the street to make it really fun for the seniors. And then it rained.
Yeah, there was like photo booths and DJs and like a bunch of different tables like doing little giveaways. Mm-hmm. There's a ton of tables actually doing those like Wheel of Fortune ones where you get to spin to see what like prize you won. They copied us because we've always had the wheel. We've had the Wheel of Fortune since we opened.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed, but that's okay. Everyone, can't be trend setting like we are. So we set up and like I went home and we got rained on and I was wet and I was cold and I just couldn't even deal. So anyhow, here I am today with my curly hair, which I never wear curly, as you know, because I got rained on and I don't wash my hair every day and I just washed it yesterday. So I was like, man. So today I woke up and I was sad. Like it was rainy last night. It rained out. It felt like such a bummer for the seniors. I'm sure the seniors had a great time. But it got me thinking about prom too.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about the whole idea of prom and the stress of prom. I don't know if it was stressful for you.
It wasn't stressful for me, but it wasn't stressful for me because I did not want to go.
Oh, okay.
So like I could have cared less about anything and I only decided to go because my mom told me I could pick out any dress I wanted.
But did you go with a date or went with girlfriends?
No, I just went with girlfriends and none of my girlfriends even really wanted to go, but we were like, where else? Because none of us dated in high school, like my friend group. So we were all just like, should we go? Like it's our senior year. Will we regret not going? And then like my really good friend, she's like, I just really want to go and I can't go alone. And so all of us were like, okay, we'll go with you.
Well, so when I was in high school, which was just a mere minute ago, so I was in the like posh town, but it was still, there was still, it had been rural at one point, but had become like posh and preppy. Like preppy and whatever. And, I don't know. It was just so weird. And I didn't date in high school either. So my sophomore year, I got asked and I went with a senior who was like a friend, whatever. It was fun, but like, whatever. I was a sophomore, so it seemed more exciting. But by my senior year.
Yeah, because you were like, ooh, these are all the older kids.
Right.
I feel like an adult.
Yeah. And I picked out this very like sophisticated navy blue long dress. It was very pretty, very simple. But my senior year, by that point, I was over all of it. And I was over the preppy thing. I was over like how like ridiculous everybody was. I mean, I'd gone to that school my whole life. You did that in Pinkley too, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of had everybody's number.
You
already knew everybody.
Yeah, you knew exactly who was going to go to the dance with who and who was going to sit with who and who. Yeah. So was it like exciting or fun or like, ooh, like who did he decide to take to prom?
And you already knew how everybody looked.
Yeah, exactly. Because everyone remotely dressed their actual style.
Yeah, no one like was blowing it up. And for my generation, there was no like non-traditional or whatever. I don't know what the correct usage there is, but there was no non-conforming or barrier breaking, or it was still very traditional. So it was, you couldn't go as a group of girls. That was considered like, I mean, even with like Pretty in Pink, if you watch like Pretty in Pink or 16 Candles or those things, no one went as like kind of a group of girls. There was still like a date involved, or if you went by yourself, it was, I think it's Pretty in Pink, the John Hughes Pretty in Pink, where she goes by herself. I think so. And it's kind of major that she's like, no, I'm gonna go. So we were kind of like the Pretty in Pink school, right? We had like the auto mechanic, cosmetology thing for our area was at our school, and there were those kids, and then there were like the preppy indoor kids, right? Whatever. So I remember the pressure of that. And I was looking at these girls last night and I was watching this all happen, and then the rain, and I felt really badly for them. But everyone looked really appropriately beautiful. I
was actually talking about this like last night when I got home. Everyone was dressed so like everyone too stuck to their own personal style. There were so many young women I saw out last night that like were wearing suits and they looked amazing.
And they were styled.
It wasn't just like a typical like, oh, I literally just like bought this at like the men's section. They like had accessories and styles and it was fitted to them and it was tailored and they looked so sharp.
And even some of the dresses, like I saw this one couple walking down the street and one girl was in this like short, like blue, like, I don't know. It looked like something like, I don't want to say an older woman word, but it looked very sophisticated. It's the right word for it, I guess. Like more like on the like sophisticated, simple, whatever. And then her friend was in like a mermaid bottom with like an open back. And like everyone did really rock their style. And I have to say that to me was really nice to see because we didn't have that. I feel like everyone was. And so when I was like going into my prom and I wore like black and white, it was considered like,
really?
Oh, I had a friend of mine, her mother, who was like so uptight, was like, you shouldn't wear black. Like all young ladies should be wearing like pastel colors and light colors. And
see, that's
like,
so weird to me.
But that's the history of prom. So our little, like, this is a funny thing. And it plays into our topics in the sense that beauty and history all interlace so tightly.
Oh, yeah, completely.
Completely, right? So, and we've talked about that a lot. Well, prom was kind of a weird spinoff of debutante balls.
Oh, that makes sense.
Makes a ton of sense if you think about, because I was looking last night and it felt, I hate to say kind of archaic, but the concept of prom feels a tad archaic.
Yeah.
And so the history of prom is basically the turn of the century. It was a Northeastern college set. So the Harvards, the Smiths, the Browns, the, Amhersts, they would have these promenades where they would, at their senior year, ask young ladies and they would be graduating. It was like the symbol of graduation. Plus, if you kind of read between those lines, it's a ring before spring. You've probably heard that phrase, that you want to be married before you graduate college.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that getting your MRS degree. Here we are. Here's the guy. We're presenting ourselves senior year. It's going to be understood that we're getting married, kind of thing. So then it slid.
It's so gross to me.
Oh my God, it's so funny. So
I'm presenting you.
Well, my mother at one point.
My wife.
I know, right? At one point, I'm like DAR and like my mom junior league kind of stuff, and my mom was like, I'm not making it. Like she's like, no. Like at one point when I was coming of that age, and I was like, oh, because my grandmother started talking about it, and I was like, what is that? Because it sounded like dress, and to me that was like, ooh, I get a dress.
Yeah.
My mom was like, no, we're not doing that. She was adamantly against it. But anyhow, so prom kind of spun out of that world, but it wasn't nearly as classist as it slid into high school because debutantes remained very classist because it was for the wealthy set. It was for the, junior leaguers. You had to be approved. Then you were presented as a marriageable age. I mean, if you read any Jane Austen, that's essentially what it is. They're always coming out, right? For coming out in the old school sense of things, right?
Yeah.
So anyhow, actually, we should make that a thing, coming out. Like,
it is a thing already.
Like, no, but I mean, like, why isn't it like a celebration? Like, think about it. It's like, oh, I have to come out. I'm coming out. Why not make it like a big...
Well, I think it depends. I was actually watching a really funny video this morning about this guy. It was like a TikTok.
Right.
And he was like, I didn't have like a cute coming out story of where I could like, I made a cute cake and like presented it to my parents that said like, hey, I'm gay. Like he said, he was like, I was sitting at dinner with my parents and the guy across from me at another table was super cute. So all night I was giving him eyes and like flirting with him, and there was a lot of eye contact back and forth. So when that table, when the guy from the other table was done with his dinner, he came up and talked to the young man, and he said like, "Hey, let me get your Snapchat. Like, you're really cute." And so that's how he came out to his parents, was like another man hitting on him. And then he said, he thought for a minute, he's like, okay, do I like risk it and get the guy's number? Or do I just like pretend like I'm not gay so my parents don't find out? And so he decided, he's like, I'm just going to do it. I want the guy's number. And his parents were like, oh, he's really cute. Like, good choice. So I just think it's really cute. Like that how some people can have such like, I don't know, like they prepared for it. They were ready to come out. And then other people, it's just like, oh,
whatever.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk to a cute boy.
Maybe it should be like a quinceañera or something for everyone. Like everyone at a certain age.
It should be.
It's like a big party because you're whatever.
I'm straight. I'm gay. Yeah. Whatever you decide you are.
Or how about like, hey, I know what job I want. I mean, seriously, why are we not celebrating as women? Like this annoyed me when as a single female, when I would get a job promotion, nobody celebrated me, but I went to everybody's baby shower, wedding shower, wedding,
bachelorette party,
everything. I got big time promotions and everyone's like, oh, nice for you. Mm-hmm. Like nothing.
No, I know.
I didn't get the registry. I didn't get the stuff. I didn't get anything. Nothing.
Let's start it.
I see there should be some sort of like
call
party.
It?
I don't know.
A job, not a job shower. It sounds weird. Like
I think there should just be one big party at a certain age, kind of like when you're Jewish, you get to have your mitzvah of some kind, your bar bat mitzvah. Why can't it just be some sort of like universal mitzvah for everybody?
And it should be at like 25.
Yeah, it should be later. Yeah. I don't think it should be at like 13. It should be like when you're like you've gone through your paces. So you've either taken a career path or a college path or whatever.
Yeah.
In the Native community, you get like a shirt that they stitch those warrior shirts when you accomplish big things. Anyhow, we're super off topic.
No, but okay, my 25th birthday is coming up.
See, it should be a thing.
I need to start planning.
You need to plan your like debutante, like your promenade, your prom, because so back to prom. So prom is this like super archaic tradition that then slid into high schools, which kind of made sense because it was groundbreaking in the sense it was firsts for people.
Yeah.
First time you took your parents' car, right? Because you're old enough to drive. First time it was like a teen exclusive event. It's not centered around like drinking or like adult activities. It was teen centric for you to, and a lot of people spent the night out. Like that's huge. You're not coming home. You're not given a curfew a lot of times. You go from prom to a party to like an after party. And then in the morning, everyone gets breakfast. And by the time morning comes, you're ready to go home. And then there's like a brunch. So you go home and sleep for a couple hours and then go to brunch or whatever, right? Like there's like a whole thing. So prom is like a funny thing. And so when you think about women and those roles, kind of what I was going to ask you is like, what do you think? I mean, I'm looking at it in hindsight, right? And ours was much more boxed in. And, you know, with like all the social media and everything else, is prom really necessary? Like, what is it? And like you said, you didn't want to go. I can't tell you how many people talk about not wanting to go. And I certainly didn't see 250 kids downtown.
No. And maybe it was just the seniors, but I find that hard to believe because even if it was just the seniors, that is not how big that senior class is.
No, that senior class is like around 300, like 275, 325, whatever it is.
Maybe if there's like 100 kids.
Right. I know.
I don't know.
Is it archaic or am I just looking at it as like a grouchy old person saying like, that's stupid?
I think in like some ways it is. I think like I can only speak from my experience. A lot of girls in my grade were just super excited because they just wanted to go dress shopping. They just wanted to dress. They could have cared less about everything else. They just wanted a night where they could get dressed up and look cute.
Okay, so let's talk about that from like a beauty perspective. As women, we were talking to our guest yesterday, Maury, who was talking about like she is in these male-dominated fields, and she walks in a dress and high heels. No remorse, no looking back. She just walks in her heels, which I think is so cool, right? Like, amazing. So is it a time to claim, like, our femininity? Do you feel, or our identity, or is it that? I mean, do you feel, I mean, is there a different take on it that we can...
I don't know. I think it is in some ways, but I also just think it's like something that you do. You know what I mean?
Right. Mm-hmm.
I don't think.
Do you think it's like when you get like married and you're going to be the bride, you know, and I'm saying that with air quotes, is it that thing like where it's all about just that day and you just want to be the prettiest, most interesting?
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, I don't even think it's like you want to be the prettiest there. At least for me, the funnest part of prom was just getting ready, getting to go to my girlfriend's house and we all help each other with our makeup and do our, and then I did have some, like, I think I kind of did it backwards because my mom for like my homecoming dances and stuff would always like make sure my hair, like she took me to get my hair done and like get my makeup like professionally done, which I don't know why I didn't do that for prom. Like, I don't know why I made that switch up. But like, I think that's part of it for some girls is like, oh, I get to go get my hair professionally done and it's
right. You get to be like super.
So I don't think it's the night at all. I think it's like prep. The day.
Yeah, that makes sense because I mean, some of those girls looked stunning.
Oh
I mean,
God.
absolutely stunning and appropriate, like amazingly appropriate.
Yeah.
I was shocked at how like I didn't really see anything that I felt like was pushing into, you know, like sometimes I think people do that just to be outlandish, like Kim Kardashian in a new dress.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and that happens on some of these occasions.
No, but there wasn't anything like.
No outlandishness. But I mean, all really pretty and appropriate. Yeah. And I mean, the guys looked good too, don't get me wrong. And again, I say this all the time. We can talk about, like, guys need to have their own podcast. We're talking about women. But I have been ruminating over it all morning in my curly hair, feeling kind of a mess today, about this idea of prom and the pressures or not pressures. I mean, because now there are those asks. The ask is a huge thing.
The
promposals.
Those are wild. Those I feel like kind of started when I graduated in 2014. Right. I think that it was going on, but it wasn't as like drastic. It would be like, oh, we went to the last like basketball game together and I made like a poster and I like held it up when you made like the final scoring basket. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But like now kids do crazy things for promposals.
And so I was thinking about that because as much as like, is that pressure, and these girls are only 18 years old, but yet at the same time, I see so many like really 17, whatever.
Yeah.
Really sophisticated girls down there making really sophisticated choices in terms of like their attire, like you said, like the suit or like a really unusual dress, or they're clearly with their group of girlfriends, so there were no promposals involved.
Yeah.
But then there is that whole set of like the big promposal, and I don't know, like it's so strange. The whole thing seems really strange to me, and it doesn't. It seems archaic. It seems a little like a pageant. Like, is this where as women our efforts should be directed?
It's definitely like, I feel, I don't know, like you could almost like bully somebody else for being like, oh, my date like proposed to me like this. He didn't just ask me. He like rented out a helicopter and
flew me to the Hamptons.
Yeah,
I know.
I've seen some really crazy ones. Well, I don't know. Yeah. And then the whole thing of like prom king and queen.
Is that still weird. A thing?
That I don't know if they did it like last night just because
it was
interesting. They did it in my high school, but I think it's weird, but I actually really enjoyed my prom king and queen because they were like, and I mean this in the most loving way, they were like the super nerdy kids.
Oh, okay.
But they were like the super nerdy kids who like, one was like, actually they were both like really into like theater, and they were both like popular, but they were super smart and really, really driven. So it was just cool to me because it wasn't like the like stereotypical like cheerleader and like quarterback.
Well, but that's what I mean. So I guess that's why I wanted to talk about it today. And everyone's probably so annoyed with me for talking about this. But like I remember talking to my mother, and at summer camp, they had this thing. They called her the cover girl. No, this was an all girls camp. All girls. And back in the day, they would do this thing at the end of the season, I think, where one girl was picked as like Miss Camp whatever year, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And she got awarded like this thing. And they would sing this song that was like, the girl I love's on a magazine cover or something. I don't know. It was something like this really dopey song about like a pretty girl. And I think she even wore a bathing suit or something. It was like really nutty. And my mom just would roll her eyes. But her best friend played the piano. And so her best friend always had to play the like dopey song, right? So my mom remembered it because it was just every summer camp, sleepaway camp. So, I mean, obviously they don't do those things anymore. But I was thinking about it in terms of prom. Like as women, is this a relic that kind of needs to go away? Because last night, had it not rained, would have been a lovely expression of taking prom to a different place.
Yeah.
It was senior night. It wasn't called prom. So it took that whole date pressure away. It made it more
you weren't like embarrassed if you didn't get date, like a date.
And a group of girls could go or dates could go or you could
and
go.
Then also, another thing is then you don't feel like uncomfortable like dancing.
Right.
Because I remember that being like a thing of like seeing, and I remember my girlfriends and we all danced like at prom. But I just remember always like going back to the table at a certain point to get drinks or whatever. Mm-hmm. There would just be like tables of girls just like sitting. And I just like, maybe that is truly how they enjoyed their time. Right. Mm-hmm. But it just always made me sad because I was just like you don't have to be asked to dance. Like you can just go.
But that's what I mean. Like, is it still an environment that as women, we should be embracing and pushing our children towards? I don't know. And I'm asking this in all sincerity. I'm not even saying it's bad. I'm not being mission critical because I saw some dresses. I was like, oh, dang, that's pretty. So you know me, I'm all into the like eyelashes and the lipstick and the big dress.
I also thought it was adorable last night, and it could be just because people looked ahead at like what the weather forecast was going to be. So many sneakers with dresses.
Oh my gosh,
and I thought that was so cute.
I know.
I will say though, the Crocs with the dresses, not my thing, but I also don't like Crocs.
I don't like Crocs either, and the Uggs. But I saw some like rock and roll sneakers. Yeah, and like
this one girl had a really cute pair of David Bowie sneakers on with her dress, and I was like,
love you.
Obsessed with her.
Yeah, right. Girl crush. So yeah, I mean, I think there were things like that I really I loved that it was not normal.
Yeah.
It forced everyone outside to rethink what this activity could be. Because a prom at a venue with like, I don't even know that, like, I know people have weddings like that, but like, I mean, it's like having really nice china.
Yeah.
Nobody uses it. I have 2 sets from my grandmother and my mother. When am I ever going to bust out Wedgwood china?
I also think another issue with prom, is like the expectation that like some kids put on it when it comes to like losing their virginity too.
I was gonna touch on that, right? Yeah. And I don't know
because so many kids are like, oh, it's prom night, like we're gonna get a hotel room.
Yeah,
and it's not gonna be magical. If anyone out there is listening and wants to lose their virginity at prom, it is not going to be magical. It is not
magical. Well, I mean, who knows? Maybe it could be somewhere, someplace. It could be magical. I don't know. But I agree with that. I think there is this elevated expectation, and then there's the sneaking of the drinks.
Yes.
And sex is a thing, and the pressure. I mean, because again, it goes back. If you go back to that history of like the pairing off of the animals into the ark, right? So it's 2 by 2. It excludes an enormous chunk of the population. So if you're not in that, like, I'm pairing off with this person, it excludes you.
Yeah.
If you are still trying to find yourself and figure out who you are, it excludes you. Mm-hmm. If you're non-traditional in your dress or in your,
That was one thing with my dress. My dress, I guess, was super I loved it. I thought it was gorgeous. It was like a very like 1950s style dress. It came up to like my chin. And then it was like white and gold, and it was like a 3/4 length, and it like was like a off the shoulder. It was really pretty. I was just like no one else there. I felt like an old lady kind of because it was super vintagey, but I thought it was, I still have it. I would wear it.
You should have worn it last night.
I could wear it to the polo.
You could wear it to the polo event.
I don't know if I think it would still fit me.
You're like, I think about those things and I think what a great opportunity for everyone to explore a different side of this concept.
Even if they didn't necessarily like rename it, because like prom is, you know what I mean? Everyone understands it. But even if like every school just went through and like redefined what the night was.
Yeah, just
like made it a community focused night like last night was, or just took the pressure off of it. Also, the fact that prom can be so expensive, like so many people.
So that's another thing that outlines
so much to afford.
Who can participate?
Yeah,
right. Because if I don't have the money to, I mean, that's why Junior League is Junior League. They give to the poor, but they have very and they have transformed themselves too. So if anyone is a junior leaguer out there, I'm not knocking Junior League because they do a ton of really good work in the community. But that was why these things started splintering off. And I feel like sports and prom and some of this stuff does put a hardship on people. So then if you can't do it, you just are like,
you're out of luck.
You're out of luck because you can't come in a different outfit.
No, there is a really good local program. No, I don't know if they do this across the country, but they do it. It's through La Casa, which is the local domestic abuse shelter. I believe it used to be. I'm pretty sure it still is, but it's called Cinderella's Closet. So you can donate your old prom dresses. And they do a really good job of like making sure that the dresses are still in style. So you're not like going there and picking out like an
dress
80s
prom
dress. And then you can go, and I believe if you make a donation, I don't remember like the pricing, but I'm pretty sure if you make a donation of like an old dress, it's free, or like it's maybe like $15 or something. Like it's really, really inexpensive. So that's like a nice way. But again, like for a lot of girls, they want that like special moment. And they do, in all fairness, they do try to make it a very like boutique experience for you. That way you feel a little more special, like going to get your prom dress. But prom dresses are expensive.
Prom dresses are expensive.
Your hair, your makeup, even if you decide to do it yourself, like that's still money that you have to go buy. Like,
well,
products.
You want makeup, and maybe you haven't, and then that's pressure too. Like girls who don't wear makeup, I think feel like they have to. And actually, we have a guest coming up in next week's episode that is a college-aged influencer, and maybe we can ask her some of these questions because honestly, like there's just so much pressure for beauty for girls, and it starts in those 4 years of high. I mean, it starts earlier, dear heavens. Like it does start much earlier. But it's
I definitely think within your last 4 years.
But high school really is setting a tone. And then you're going to go off to college or out into the workforce, whichever thing you're doing. And if the schools and the adults aren't trying to reinvent these things regularly, then that's setting up, I don't know, difficulties, I think.
I heard this a lot last night. A lot of people were like, oh, it's so sad that they like didn't have this experience. And like, yes, it was absolutely heartbreaking. And it is super upsetting that they don't get that traditional experience because that's what they're expected to have. But like, that's what they're expected to have.
Right.
Like your child shouldn't necessarily have the same experiences that you had. So just because you went to prom doesn't mean they have to go to prom.
And there was a miss. Like we could have, it was rainy. There was no tent set up.
No.
They should have actually set up.
Like they should have rented like a
big tent.
Not like a circus tent, but what do they call those?
Yeah,
like
those like event
graduation tents. Yeah.
Like the big event tents. And it could have looked like something out of Gilmore Girls. Like it could have been.
They could have had all these twinkly lights. They could have gotten a dance floor.
They could have made. Well, they didn't want the dancing. That was the thing.
Okay, that's true.
They could have just had a big tent though,
and like tables set up so kids could go like
socially distanced tables
and come out.
And even if there was like not actual food, but people donated, or you could go to the restaurants and buy like boxes to take.
Yes, because that's what I was saying, or not what I was saying, but like last night there was such a long wait at all the because there's only so many restaurants downtown, and even if there's only 100, 150 kids that showed up, that's still 150 kids plus like the people who didn't realize it was senior night,
right?
downtown.
And the normal people, the norms.
So that's like a really busy night for the amount of restaurants that we have downtown.
Yeah, I just feel like it was a miss. And I think I was sad, not because they didn't get prom. I was actually kind of psyched they didn't get prom because like, ugh. But I was sad that they got rained out.
Yeah.
Because then what happens is they're like, well, see, that never worked. That didn't work.
Yeah, so the next year they will not try it again because it rained.
Because it rained and didn't work. And then everyone's going to have this like, well, see, the old thing always worked, but the new thing, but that's the thing with new things, right? Like
sometimes they don't work the first time.
Or sometimes there's like tweaks you have to make. And so today I'm in pink eyeshadow. I feel like this is a you look, not a me look. I'm in pink eyeshadow, and I did it because I picked up a palette at the store and I was like, I'm making myself use this palette. It's that pink, all pink palette. By Ace Beauty, and it's like all pinks.
Oh, yeah.
I forget which one it's called. And it's not the rainbowy
Blossom
one.
Paradise.
Blossom Paradise. I picked that one up and I was like, I'm using this because I'm so afraid of those pinks. So I did it today. And I feel a little weird. I don't know if I executed flawlessly, but it looks okay.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's not me.
It doesn't look like something I'm like, oh, what is she wearing?
Right.
Like, it looks completely normal on your face.
Right. You know it's not me because you know what I usually wear.
But
so
like,
you're like
walking down the street with your mask on? No,
right?
Look weird.
So I think in terms of like our life and our lifestyle, that's a lesson that we need to all learn somehow and that's like with this prom, I really hope that it's my pink eyeshadow. That, you know, maybe it's not you and maybe it's not for you, or maybe it's you want to just try something different, but don't throw the palette away because you didn't execute the first time. Like I know like girls sit in front of the mirror I know when I was in high school, like I was sitting in front of the mirror constantly doing makeup, just trying different things. And I feel like that's what this should be about. Like you should be able to go and experience and have this like cool experience that celebrates all the diversity of these kids moving forward. Because some of them are going to go on to college. Like where I went, and this is sad, like where I was, it was very pretty and pink. You had all the poshes. And then we were all moving on to college. And there was this like cookie cutter kind of approach to all of that. And then there were the other kids who it was kind of like, it was embarrassing if you hadn't gotten your letter for college or you were going to go into the trades or you were like those kids. Sadly, I don't even remember if they came to our prom, but you know, like that's a whole thing. And so like, if you have these more non-traditional proms that are kind of more inclusive, breaking the traditional, like arenas that they're in and how they're being held, then you can go off in your clique afterwards and be whichever clique you are.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be nice if these are celebrations of like that celebrate individuality? You know?
Last night when so we had like a little table, I guess I'll explain it to everybody because they don't know. We had a little table set up and our next door neighbor Mara from Art Ventures had like a bunch of donuts like cut up so everyone could just have a little snack. And then we had little mocktails so everyone could have like a fancy drink, but obviously no alcohol because they're underage.
Right, exactly.
But one girl came to the table alone and I was standing there and she's like, oh, can I have a donut? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, take it away. And so she eats it and she takes like this one big bite and she's like, oh, it's so good. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, and I told her like the bakery that they're from. And then she was just like, I walked by here with my friends earlier, but they like told me that like I shouldn't eat one.
Her friend?
Yeah. And I was just like, no. And I literally picked up a second donut and I was like, here.
Eat this. That's so mean.
And I don't like, I didn't ask her if it was like, oh, because she's wearing a tight dress and they don't want her to blow, but like blow. Like
live life. Believe me, your Spanx will come off and it will be fine.
Yeah, I just thought that was so like, that's a bad mindset when it comes to prom or like being a young woman is like, no, we get to wear these clothes, but we don't get to eat because if we eat and enjoy ourselves, we might not look as good in them.
Right.
Like such a shitty mindset.
No, it's a crummy mindset. And I think it is something that we need to explore. So I know this is the weirdest podcast ever that we talked all about prom, but I think it's an important thing to talk about that as young women, as you're moving forward, or if you're an older woman, like well out of high school, meaning like anyone over 20, looking at those people coming behind you and finding ways to enforce positive, body and self-awareness and self-image.
Maybe. London Beauty needs to just get on the prom committee.
Oh my gosh, please. I'm already on like 2 committees.
I'll join.
Okay, you can join. Join.
I'll email the principal and be like, hi, I was really inspired by last night's events.
Maybe we could have like a pre-party in the back.
Yeah.
Like where the girls could come and we could have like testers and they could get ready. And
I do genuinely like the idea of having them have like the prom or like the seniors night like downtown.
I do too.
Just like you said, if they activated it in different ways, because they could have they could have it activated down more towards the mill pond and then like on both ends of the street.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine it would be more money than them like renting out
a place. No. And having like a dinner, like sit down.
Having it catered and then the desserts and then the DJs and then the lights. And
But even so, like, okay, I'm trying to think about mine. There was no food at my prom. I think we had.
Oh, really?
See, I think we all went out to dinner. I think we did go out to dinner and then went to the prom, but maybe not.
Okay. Also, how much were do you remember how much your prom tickets were?
No. Good God, no. I have no idea.
Because I remember our prom tickets, I think were like $60 or $70.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So that's like another thing. Like, okay, I had to buy a dress. My dress is like $200.
Right. Then prom tickets.
So now you're at almost $300 plus shoes because most girls that age don't have like a pair of like high heels.
Well, or shoe, like they have to be shoes that go with a formal gown.
Right. A formal gown. Yeah.
No, well, my senior prom, the guy I had a crush on and was my friend was going to ask somebody else because originally I was like, well, if he's not going with someone, then we can go as like friends. Cause I had a good time with him and I like,
wasn't like a date.
And also we kind of had like crushiness on each other, but I don't think either of us really
we're going to do anything about it.
No. And it was kind of just more fun and we were really just friends. And so whatever, it would have been fun, but he got really snarky and was like, he like wanted whatever. So I was like, all right, well, so I went, there was a guy who had gone to private school and had gone through all the grades except like, I don't know, sophomore through senior year. Mm-hmm. He'd gone to a private school. So I thought, oh, I should ask him. I've known him since I was a little kid. He knows all these people. It would be fun for him, right? Really cool idea. And do you know that mother was like, well, she treated me like I had a crush on him. And she's like, well, I don't know if he would go because, he is like dating. So, like she said something like that. And I thought, no, I'm just asking him.
I'm not trying to like hook up with your son at the end of the night.
Right. Or I'm not even trying to ask him on a date. Like I'm not asking him on a date. I'm asking him as his childhood friend to come to a dance with me where he would have fun because he knows all the same people I know. Like it was a completely.
Well,
and I remember being so
now
annoyed.
That we're talking about this, I do remember. And this would have been like the early 2000s because we just talked about how like you didn't go as like a group of girls. Mm-hmm. In the early 2000s, I remember one of my cousin's friends asking my brother to prom because she didn't have a date and she couldn't go alone, but she wanted to go to prom.
Yeah.
So literally just within like from, I don't know, that would have been maybe 2003 to 2014. Like that's how much things have kind of like shifted.
It has shifted. And I thought it was so kind of crummy that she made me feel really weird about asking her son when I was just thinking of it in terms of like a fun.
Yeah.
And what like weird pressure on me is I was like, this is just weird. Yeah. So anyhow, that's our podcast today is let's change prom. Let's take that like weird pressure away from the women and the men. These young people.
And the men have the expectation of like they have to pay for everything. Unless you have like a wealthy family that's willing to like help pay for your prom date. For like a young man to buy prom tickets, that's so expensive.
Right. Or then you're doing it Dutch and then it's just, it's expensive, period. Expensive.
Yeah.
And I know there's fundraising now. They do fundraising from their freshman year to raise money for the venue and all that stuff, which we didn't do. I don't know where that money came from. I think the parents just had to shell it out. But anyhow, I mean, come on, we're not reading before spring anymore. Like there's not this like pressure. Can't we make it like a celebration of you just made it young. Past this. Yeah. You made it. Like graduating high school is a thing.
So you should get
you should party. Celebrate that and have a party, but like does it have to be this kind of archaic tradition? Right? Doesn't like it feel the more you think about it, it's archaic. So anyhow, we are going to be back next week with a young influencer, which will be really fun.
Yeah.
And I won't have curly hair that day, hopefully, because I hate my curly hair. And I guess that's everything for today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We will talk to you guys
all
later.
Right. The Beauty Underground is out.